Picture the grit spiraling at your boots, the sun brandishing itself like a flaming coin against a sky as vacant as the desert's own echoing face, and the sound that jousts like dust in your ears is the creak of a saloon door levering itself open. That's right. Your assignment today is to spend a full day in the Wild West, not the glossy movie version, the actual, rough, unpredictable frontier on which every choice could be life or 6 feet under. From dawn to dusk, this video plunges you headfirst into the grueling everyday rhythm of cowboys, saloon girls, bandits, and lawmen who lived with one eye open and one hand on their gun. So before we begin this dusty tale, I have one request. Stick around until the very end and leave me a comment letting me know in no uncertain terms how this thing makes you feel when it's done. Don't think it through. Just write the first thing that comes to your mind, whether it's yeehaw or now why do I feel like robbing a train. Let's ride. The sun breaks the rim of the horizon like a pyrotechnic Siam-sung. You're roused from sleep by the crow of a rooster that must smoke 2 cigars a day. Your bed? Straw? Your pillow? A dirty poncho that reeks of old leather and an urge to buck the odds. You rise, crack your neck, reach for your boots, scuffed and worn, but loyal. Today, you're not just some ranch hand. You have a gun belt, a name murmured in saloons, and a reputation that could be the death of you before noon. Initial destination, the town of Dead Cactus. Population, not enough to matter. The town stank of whiskey, sweat, and gunpowder. The 3 necessities of life. A tumbleweed blows down Main Street as if it's late for an appointment. You come to the general store where Miss Hattie sells canned beans, pickled eggs, and whispered rumors. Her shotgun's propped right by the door in case someone doesn't agree to the price of soap. A little child rushes by, shoeless, rolling a hoop with a stick as though that were the great event of the century. You nod to the blacksmith, but he's hard at work, beating out steel, and doesn't acknowledge your greeting. From years of swinging iron, his face has a leathered quality that's been caked in desert heat and sweat. He's built like a train, and he grunts like one too. Your first mission today? Cattle? Not yours, of course. Good. You're out there helping Big Earl move a herd up on the north side of the river. Earl is 7 feet of overalls, beard, and unsolicited opinions. He doesn't say good morning. He just throws you a rope and says, "Look over here." The cattle groan and paw at the ground, already angry with the sun. You climb onto the saddle. Your horse is called Whiskey, and not because you like to drink, but because he only listens if you speak to him as though you're drunk. He snorts and stomps and gives you the look that says, "Don't get us killed today, boss." You spend the next 3 hours with a seat that appears to be chewing your thighs. The herd moves like spilled molasses, and every now and then, one ornery steer makes a run to break off. You and Whiskey put the spurs to go to get him headed back, dust pluming into your eyes until you think you might be sneezing Arizona for a week. Then, predictably, bandits, 2 of them, their masks in place and guns drawn, and horses with faces like those they borrowed from nightmares. You don't even flinch. You've had worse on Monday. Earl spits a wad of tobacco, unimpressed. You lay your hand on your revolver, holler at them. You boys misplaced? Or just dumb? Turns out they're both. They want the cattle. Earl just wants to return to ignoring people. You, you want breakfast. But we all know how this goes. There's no talk, no negotiating, just 6 shots and silence. The world slows down. You hear your heartbeat. Let your gun be warm with the sun on a grip. Your hat is askew as you jump off whiskey, spin in midair, and begin to shoot. One bandit goes down. Earl, though he looks like a giant potato with legs, is able to whip his shotgun around and gut shoot the second one so hard that his shadow slumps to the ground a second later. There's no cheering after, she said, just silence and flies. The cattle don't care. They begin to dine out on weeds as if nothing had happened. You wipe your forehead, put away your gun, and face Earl. He grunts a damn shame about breakfast, and by high noon, you're back in town. You hitch whiskey to the rail outside the saloon. Then you shove your way through the swinging cafe doors as though you own the place, even though your wallet knows you do not. Inside, the piano player's 3 sheets to the wind. A hail of cards is flying, and someone's in the corner, crying about a broken fiddle. You pull up to the bar and ask for coffee. Yes, coffee. Because if you're going to survive the Wild West, that's what you drink. Somebody pours it black and bitter, like the last 3 years of your life. He doesn't ask questions. Smart man. Then you hear it. Spurs. But not the carefree jingle of a cowpoke. No. These spurs are like bill collectors. They just sound that way. You look over your shoulder, and into the room walks a man in black, eyes like a pebble on the bottom of a mountain stream. He's here for someone. You pray it's not you, but he locks eyes with you. Name's Cutter. You have something of mine. You don't. It's not like you do. Not that you can tell. Unless he's talking your pride, your coffee, or the pocket knife you won in a poker game last Thursday. Then it clicks. The knife. Poker game. One-eyed Slim. The pot had gotten wild. You're thinking about Cutter now. He left early, grumbling that he'd get his. Back then, you had cracked up, thinking he was some sort of sore loser. Apparently not. You groan, sip the last of your coffee, and stand up slow. No need to rush fate. The saloon falls silent, as if someone had flipped a switch on noise. Cutter advances, his hand twitching by his holster. You raise your hands. You want the knife back? He nods. You toss it on the bar. Clink, it spins landing blade up, as if defying gravity. Cutter walks over and picks it up and... You'll never believe this either. He nods. No gunfight. No blood. Just a grim smile. He turns and leaves. You exhale, as if you've been holding your breath since Tuesday. The bar roars back to life. The piano player hits a screeching note with blushed cheeks, and a man screams, "Well, shit! I just lost $5 betting on that duel." By nightfall, you've made your way to the edge of town, looking down as the sun sinks behind blood-red mesas. The sky appears painted by a tipsy god with a theatrical bent. You step outside and light up a cigar you do not really have the money for, as you tilt your hat and allow smoke to go with the wind. It's not all gunfights and shootouts in the Wild West. It's about pressure, silent threats, the knowledge that any minute could be your last, and how to live big in the silence between those moments of chaos. Outlaws, storms, or ghosts from your past might find you tomorrow, but tonight you've got peace, and one hell of a story. You rise in the pre-dawn hours with the sense that something is not right. Not danger, simply the wind changing, the sort of change you don't hear or see but feel deep down in your bowels. Like when poker goes bad, the stars are stubborn in the sky, flickering reluctant goodbyes as the horizon begins to black and blue with light. You crawl out of bed, bend and stretch your back as you cracked a twig and walk outside into the cold. The town's still asleep, except for the sporadic snore, a dog yelling at nothing, and old man Jasper sweeping dust off his porch like it's an insult. You nod to him. He spits near your boots. That is like a handshake in dead cactus. It's not cattle you're gathered to wrangle today. You're a hired gun with a stagecoach run leaving at sunup. The pay's decent. The risk? High. It's a gold shipment bound for Copper Ridge. It is known throughout 50 miles around. Bandits are no doubt oiling up their rifles and rehearsing their menacing laughter. Into view rolls the coach, now drawn by 4 horses that appear to have seen better days. The driver, a wiry guy named Buttons, don't ask, tips his hat. The woman in her passenger seat is Mad Mary, who once earned the nickname for molotoving a sheriff's office after someone insulted her horse's mane. You step up onto the back step, gun slung across your back, hat pulled down, eyes scanning every cactus, like they were concealing a man with ill will in his heart. The coach lurches forward, its wheels squeaking as if they're whispering secrets. It is open country, the landscape bored out on every side. The sun rises higher, and with it, everything becomes gilded with sweat. There is movement in the distance, vultures in the sky. You don't say anything yet. You just tighten your grip. A mile later, the ambush comes. Not from the front, not even from the hills. These bastards come up from below, out from a dry riverbed, like ghosts conjured from dust and need. 3 riders, muffled, yelling like banshees. One's got a rifle. Someone else is tossing dynamite around, like it's a party favor. The last, with a lasso twirling, as if it's trying out for death. You don't think. You act. You pull yourself up onto the carriage, rifle at your shoulder, and fire. One of the riders flinches and drops like a marionette whose strings have been severed. Mary screams and unloads with both pistols right into the throat of the dynamite bandit. Kaboom! Confetti made of limbs and dirt. Buttons is yelling. The horses are freaking out. You throw yourself down on the lead horse like a madman, grab the reins, and lean hard. The coach jolts. Wood splinters. Your spine is fairly certain it just sent up a complaint. But you're driving now, and the coach keeps rolling, and the last bandit peels away, terrified, or who knows, maybe just wise. You come riding into Copper Ridge the way legends do, beaten and dirty and still alive. The stagecoach pulls up, and the townies in the background gawp. Forward steps the sheriff, a man with more medals than teeth. You folks all right? Mary spits blood. Peachy. You unload the crates that carry gold, each bar in place, each coin glittering with its saving power. You receive your pay, a sack of silver dollars, and a respectful nod. You don't need applause, just the money and a bed. It's later that same night, let's say, and you've hauled your sorry ass over to the Silver Mule Saloon, where the piano is in tune, the drinks are cold, and the air smells of tobacco, regret, and let's say, a little lavender maybe. A local singer, Clara Bell, hits the stage. She's got a voice that can make men forget duels and women forget vendettas. You're sitting at a corner table, sipping whiskey slow, allowing the chaos of the day to settle like silt in a glass full of water. A man in a velvet sport coat saunters over and inquires if you care to play cards. You say no. He insists. You say, I'm a better shooter than bluffer. He backs off. The night winds on, laughter, yelling, boots stomping in time with piano keys. Then silence again. A boy comes running in out of breath, wide-eyed. Train robbery, he gasps. East Line, 10 miles out. They're taking hostages. You finish your drink and stand, because in the Wild West, silent night is only the prologue. You're on a horse within 5 minutes. You don't wait for backup. The sheriff's still currying sleep from his eyes, and his deputies are squabbling about who has to stay behind and guard the town. You just ride, hooves pounding, wind slapping your face, gun or bow at the ready, eyes locked forward. 10 miles east, a train under siege. You have no plan. But who has plans? Except for people with time. You top a rise and there it is. The midnight arrow. A streamlined iron beast stuck on the rails. There's a hissing sound of smoke coming out of the engine. Bandits are crawling in it like lice on a sleeping buffalo. You count 6, maybe more. 1 on top with a rifle. 2 guarding the hostages. The rest pillaging cargo like wild raccoons. Civilians crouched near the tracks, with hands raised and eyes wide. A woman sobbing. A baby's crying. There is a harmonica playing somewhere. Eerie, dissonant. You jump down behind a rocky pelvis and regroup. You've got a Winchester repeater, 2 6-shooters, a knife in your boot, and exactly 0 regrets. You breathe in dust, and you breathe out focus. You start with the rifleman. 1 clean shot. He goes down like wet meat, never realizing he'd been picked. Panic ripples. The bandits scramble. You pop cover and head out fast. Low, hugging terrain. Gunfire erupts. You take cover behind a wagon, splinters flying. 1 outlaw attempts to flank each of you. You kick. You shoot. You shoot him in the leg. He screams. You silence him. A bandit seizes a woman, holds a pistol to her temple. I'll do it, he yells. No, you're not, you say, and shoot him in the shoulder so clean, he drops the gun and falls to his knees like he's praying. You jump up onto the train, grabbing the ladder, pulling yourself up onto the roof. There's 1 more dude, the ringleader. You know it by the hat. Wide brim, feathers, too much confidence. He turns. You both draw. 2 shots. Yours hits first. He drops his gun, stumbles. You're faster, he wheezes. Not fast, you reply. Just tired of your kind. He collapses. You drop to your knees, check the hostages. All are still alive, shaken, but breathing. A wiry old engineer, made of train grease, and spite offers you a swig of moonshine. You decline. For now, you return to town with the dawn. No posse, no medals, just the knowing that for 1 more day, theoretically, the scales had tipped slightly more right than wrong. And in dead cactus, you eat breakfast, actual breakfast, scrambled eggs, beans, and toast, scorched by an eager-to-please cook. You're sprawled at the edge of the saloon porch, legs stretched out, observing the town waking up. A dog licks your boot. A kid waves. You nod. You don't say much. You never do. People call you a mystery, but it's really quite simple. Words are slow, and the West doesn't like to wait. You work repairing a fence with Old Man Jasper later that day. He does not talk for hours, only grunts and nods. That's conversation out here. That evening, the stars look beautiful and clear, like nails in black velvet. You sleep beside a fire with a tin cup of coffee and a saddle for a pillow. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howls, and the sound rings around like it's taking the land's own sense of loss out for a walk. But you sleep. For in the Wild West, tomorrow always brings with it a gun. You're not in town the next morning. You find yourself in the middle of a desert with no recollection of how you got there. Your mouth is full of gunpowder and guilt. Your hat is gone, and your horse is missing. The most recent memory you have is of winning a hand of poker with a man who had identified himself as Reverend Snake. And after that, everything is just a haze of smoke and cards and laughter that had not sounded quite human. The sun is cruel already, baking the rock and your head. You get up, brush yourself off, and see wagon tracks going west. Good a direction as any. You walk, not because you need to, but because out here, if you stay, you cease to exist. You find the wagon half a mile out, just the skeleton, charred, burn marks, broken wheels, and a Bible that someone stabbed to the ground with a Bowie knife. Classic Snake. There's a boot print leading off. Deep, angry steps. You follow them. By midday, you've stumbled into a box canyon. Red cliffs reaching to the sky like gods in your face, looking down and judging you. There's a barely smoking campfire, and Snake himself, cross-legged with eyes closed, as he mutters scripture whilst loading a revolver. You cheated, he mutters, without even opening his eyes. Epstein didn't win the World Series. That can't be his only skill. You shoot back. He smiles, wide, and too many teeth. A right guy never folds. You roll your neck. A smart man does when he's beat. He is sin smooth standing up, and the desert seems small. You both draw. The shots peal like thunder held in stone. Yours grazes his hand. You feel his hit the flask you keep in your pocket, and it spins you sideways. You hit the ground, hard, dust in your teeth, blood in your mouth. Snake wanders in, gun to your head, reciting scripture like a crazy prophet. You roll, scoop a handful of sand, throw it in his eyes. He screams. You crash into him, and you both fall to the ground, fists and fury flying. He bites your shoulder. You headbutt his nose. It snaps with a crunch, like dry wood. At last, you are holding the trump card, knee on his chest, revolver at his temple. I fold. He wheezes. You don't pull the trigger, not that he doesn't deserve it. But death is too easy for guys like Snake. You punch him out, then bind him to a dead cactus with his own belt before walking off. He'll be fine, or eaten by buzzards. Either way, you are guilt-free. You come across whiskey a mile or so later, drinking water from a mud puddle and staring at you with dismay. You climb on, no words needed. He simply turns and begins walking south into town. Back in Dead Cactus, they've begun the Founders' Day preparations. The one day a year, people pretend this place isn't held together by rust, lies, and chewing tobacco. Banners hang like limp hopes. Kids learn lasso tricks with ropes older than themselves, as well as Miss Hattie's baking pies that doubled as missiles. You pull up after getting your ass kicked and your Bible verses, and nobody bats an eye. Just another Tuesday. The mayor, who won election after surviving 3 lynchings and a bear attack in the same week, corners you, says there's a bounty that wants collecting. Not just any bounty. This one's big. A gang going to be called the Hollow Vultures. Robbers, killers, and, it is said, cannibals. They are holed up in an abandoned silver mine to the west of Deadwood Ridge. You ask how many. The mayor shrugs. Enough to make most men say no. You nod. I'm not most men. You clean your guns and sharpen your knife that night, and you stare into the mirror. You look like a habit-made man, bound by leather. You don't smile. Smiling is for when it's over. Things aren't over. You ride out again before dawn, over the ridge, past the graves, into the domain where maps quit. The mine is open in the hills, a mouth waiting to chew. And you, as to going along, you are the sap. You are going right into it. You arrive at the mine at dusk. The sun is slipping behind the hills, like it knows better than to hang out here. It's different here. The air thicker, like it's holding secrets too heavy to inhale. You tie whiskey to a dead tree and say, if I'm not back by morning, find someone stupider than I. He snorts like he's had a list already. The doorframe gapes, jagged wooden braces jutting out like broken ribs. You enter, your boots crunching gravel and old bones. The light drains quickly, absorbed by an insidious damp and darkness that reeks of rust, sulfur, and regret. You light your lantern, and you take out your revolver, the big one with the notches. One for every face whose memory you'd like to forget. The Hollow Vultures are not called such by happenstance. They don't just kill. They linger. They wait. They peck at the fringes of law and sanity like buzzards on a gut pile. Folks claim that they were miners that got caught in a collapse and clawed their way out wrong. You don't believe in ghost stories, but you believe in monsters that have blood in their beards and laughter in their kills. You're the slow mover, eyes sharp, heart steady. There's a footfall for every ratchet step that doesn't belong to whoever it is you're inside. There are signs of life, crude bedrolls, gnawed bones, drawings on walls that appear to be more screams than art. Then you hear them, whispering, just ahead. You extinguish the lantern and hunker down. 3 of them, bent over on the ground by a fire of coal and madness, dirty, scarred, eyes shining like they consume nightmares for breakfast. They're debating whether to munch a boot or save it to leach into soup. You take aim, but wait, there's movement behind you. You whirl around and manage to catch a pickaxe in time to prevent it from smashing into your skull. You duck, the blade cleaving air, and ram your shoulder into the attacker. He grunts. Bad breath, not enough teeth to equal some fingers. He lunges again. You shoot. The flash stuns you for a second, he drops. The three at the fire react. One runs, one charges, one of them freezes, gives you the look like he's seen death before and didn't like the terms. You rotate, shoot the runner in the back. The charger tackles you. You tumble together down, ash and grit in your rolls. He's strong, feral, bites your arm. You elbow him. You've got a vampire knife at your belt. You jab it upward. He spasms, then stills. You're on your knees panting. The last one, the frozen one, only nods at you. I saw you in my dreams, he rasps. Then you know how this goes. He smiles. You burn. You shoot him anyway. Twice. You stumble upon their stash deeper in the mine. Gold, weapons, bones, journals, pages filled with madness. They believed the mine was cursed. Imagine the rocks whispering names, believed they could hear the earth's secrets by eating the dead. You come to a final chamber, a shrine, candles, skulls, a mirror with names carved into the glass, including yours. You stare, then you smash it. You emerge from that mine, bloodied, shaken, furious, not at them, for the silence they left in their wake. That mine didn't destroy your soul. It simply exposed the rot that was already there. You return to town to lob a sack of ears onto the mayor's desk. Hollow vultures are gone. He looks pale. You all right? You shake as you light a cigar. Nope. That night, no one sings. The saloon's quiet. The drunks drink politely, too. You don't sleep. You gaze out the window of your room in the back of the saloon, and the shadows are running across the roofs as if they have an appointment. That's because of the Wild West, where some stories don't really have a conclusion. They wait. 3 days pass. You barely eat. You don't sleep. You just keep watching that street from the window like it's your bitch or something. People notice. They nod more quietly, let out softer laughs. The piano player switches between boisterous song and the type of music that can cause dogs to whimper. Hell, even Miss Hattie cutting you in on pie without sass. That's when you realize something's wrong. One afternoon, you wake to find a letter pinned to your door by a stake, knife. Not a word was written, just a crude sketch. Your face, crossed out. Below it, one word, coming. You crumple it, load your guns, and ride. You don't know where. You just go. The prairie stretches out, wide, burning. You ride through ghost towns with names like Misery Junction and Rattlesnake's Elbow. No people, only wind and shattered promises. At one point, you walk past a man standing in the middle of nowhere with a coyote on a leash and nothing in his eyes. He waves. You don't wave back. The heat does funny things to your brain. You begin to see things. A flaming stagecoach pulled by skeletons, a fervid spook of a preacher, a little girl handing you a bullet that bears a message scratched into its nose. You don't blink. You've seen worse. You make camp by a dry creek, build a fire, and sharpen your knife until it gleams hungrily. That night you dream of the mine once more, only this time you haven't left. The walls breathe. The rocks whisper. Something behind you is always tantalizingly out of reach, always breathing down your neck. You wake up to discover that hoof prints are surrounding your camp. You were watched Maybe still are. You hit a town named Mercy's Drop by the time the sun rises. It ain't on the map. Only a collection of buildings, unstoppable, that refuse to die. The people here don't smile. They nod, as shipwreck survivors will nod. The sheriff appears to be about 19, his badge attached with duct tape and prayer. He asks if you're staying. You ask if he anticipates trouble. He just spits. Ain't nobody know what to expect what's comin'. Above the saloon, you find a room. There you go again, with that weird trio of scents. That so bizarre combination of mold, blood, and lavender. You place your guns on the nightstand, sit on the bed, and notice something under the pillow. It's a photo, black and white. It's you, but younger, and you're not alone. There's a woman to your left, dark hair, cruel smile, hand on your chest like the burn of a brand. You have no recollection of the photo being taken. You don't remember her? Then someone screams. You race downstairs, revolver in hand, and expect drunks or a fire, or perhaps a runaway horse, but it's none of those. It's him, the revenant. You've only heard stories. A bounty hunter who went bad, shot his own posse, left his horse to die in the desert, and returned alone with white hair and black eyes. Now, he works for no one, just rides town to town taking the names of killers. And yours is next. He is blocking the door, his trench coat flailing in a non-existent wind. His voice is gravel, laced with whiskey and war. You killed what shouldn't have died, he says plainly. Balance needs fixing. You raise your gun. He's already gone. Just smoke. A whisper. A warning. From the sheriff, you learn that he struck a mark on the wall of the saloon. A circle with 3 slashes across it. You recognize it. The sign of the old riders. The ones who used to police the deserts before the towns came. Legends. Or maybe demons. Hard to tell out here. You order whiskey from the bartender. He pours it shaking. Whatever's coming after you, he says, better hope it gets you. 'Cause what's behind it? Worse. You down the glass. Because in the Wild West, you do not run. You ride toward the fire. The next morning, the blood is on your doorstep. Not yours. Not human. You go along it, marching thigh deep in dry sand, and something else. Something sticky. Flies already found it. You don't ask questions. You already know the solutions. Won't stick. The citizens of Mercy's Drop won't even make eye contact. Horseshoes are hammered upside down the blacksmith for luck. A small girl draws circles in the dust. The same symbol the revenant scorched into the wall of the saloon. 3 slashes, 1 circle, but it does. And it festers like a wound that won't close. You ride out by noon. The trail veers north toward Broken Lantern Canyon, a place so haunted even the vultures won't go there. There was, they say, a town that once attempted to make a settlement there. Didn't last a month. Every mirror shattered. Every animal went mad. People began to dream of wolves with human teeth. They walked into the canyon one day, and that was the last time they walked back out of it. And there is where he is waiting. You know it. You feel it. You come with your guns, and your minds all made. The wind howls through the rocks, as if sending you a warning in a language you were never taught. You arrive by dusk. The canyon is a gash in the earth, broad and sighing. Shadows shift within. Not the wind, not reason, just move. You dismount. Whiskey doesn't want to stay. He paws the dirt, ears back. Eye him directly in the face. If I don't come back, carry my saddle to the river and drown it. He whinnies, spins around, and runs for his life. Smart horse. You walk in. The walls shut out around you like ribs. The further down you get, the colder it gets. Not normal cold, grave cold, regret cold. You have voices, voices that you don't hear, voices that talk to you. You breathe gunpowder, roses, and hairspray dirt down there. Then you see him, the revenant. Not a man, not anymore. He's standing in the middle of the canyon, illuminated by broken lanterns hanging from dead trees. His coat is not cloth. It's sewn from wanted posters and old promises. His eyes burn, not glow, burn, as though everything inside him is fire and fury, and it's all encased in a face that he once was loved in. You came, he says. You asked. You answer. I warned you. You crack your neck. You think I came here for a handout? No, he murmurs, pulling his gun. You came here to end. The duel does not start with a count. It begins with silence. You both move. Fast doesn't describe it. It's as if the world stops for a moment and pays attention. You shoot. He shoots. Both hits. Yours hits shoulder. His strikes something deeper. Not just flesh, but that part of you that still hoped for peace. You stagger. He laughs. You lunge. This ain't a duel anymore. It's war. You tackle him. Fists fly. Elbows. Teeth. The earth drinks your blood as if it's been parched for ages. You stab him in the thigh. It is your jaw he punches, and your ancestors flinch. You roll in the dirt together, into the pit of darkness, into something older than hate. Finally, you're on top, your hands around his throat, his eyes dimming. You ain't justice, you growl. You're nothing but a ghost with a grudge. He grins, blood on his teeth. So are you. You press harder. His eyes close. Then, stillness. You sit back, gasping, trembling, alive, barely. The wind stops. The canyon is silent again. You stand, limp out, bloody face, ripped shirt, soul dribbling away somewhere between your ribs. The sun comes up as you exit the canyon, slow, shy, as if it is afraid of what you have done. You find Whiskey waiting. Of course he is. You ride back to Mercy's drop, like a man that planted something that wasn't supposed to die. The townsfolk watch you. They don't cheer. They don't speak. They just step aside when you walk by, because they know you're not one of them. Because you're not. Not anymore. The morning after the revenant fell, you came riding into dead cactus, like a ghost that would not die. People look like they're seeing something undone. In some dark closet of history they had prayed wouldn't come back. You nod to the blacksmith. He doesn't nod back. He just hawks a wad of spit into his anvil, like he's spitting at evil. Pie, from Miss Hattie, and never a word. That's her last rites. The saloon is silent, inside, too quiet. No piano, no cards, nothing but hushed voices and sideways glances. Someone murmurs, "That's him." You hear it. You don't care. You're sitting at your regular table, back to the wall, eyes on the door, in case anyone's dumb enough to try anything heroic. That's when she walks in. At first, you don't even recognize her. Not because she is hiding, but because your mind won't process her into memory at all. The lady of the photograph. Same eyes, same storm behind the calm. She is clothed in riding leathers, twin pistols riding low on her hips, and a cold presence as dangerous as a loaded chamber. The entire bar goes silent. She sits across from you. You say nothing. She lights a cigarette. You remember me yet? No. You lie. She smirks. Good. That makes this easier. She removes a gold coin from her coat, spins it on the table. That was a marshal's coin, she says. The one you allowed to bleed in Red Hollow 10 years past. You stay silent. Your knuckles crack against your volition. He was my brother. There it is. The storm, behind the calm. You remember now. That job that did not work out. The gang you rode with. The standoff that resulted in 3 dead men. A coin clattering into the dust. You had no idea the marshal had relatives. Never cared. Until now. She inches forward. I ain't here to kill you. I'm here to hire you. You blink. Excuse me? I'm putting a crew together. Not for revenge. For something worse. You raise an eyebrow. There's a cargo passing through Devil's Backbone Pass. 10 wagons. Government gold. Patrolled by soldiers, mercenaries, and whatever else. Something not right. You chuckle. You need my help burgling the government. You might not want revenge instead? She shrugs. Revenge is easy. Surviving Devil's Backbone? That takes monsters. And you, my dear, you are more than half the way there already. You stare at the coin. The edge is worn. There is fresh blood on your hands once more. You nod once. That's all it takes. The next 3 days are a haze of planning, gun oil, and names gathering. She calls herself Remy. You never even inquire if that's her real name. Doesn't matter. The crew includes Preacher Jack, a fire and brimstone maniac who spouts scripture while planting explosives. Twin Tom, a one-eyed rifleman who claims he had a twin until he lost him in a poker game. Mabel, the widow Crane, who seduced and robbed 3 judges in the same week. You come upon an old, broken barn near dead cactus, maps spread out, whiskey passed around. Plans simple. Attack the convoy at the pass, capture the lead wagon, ride into the canyons before the last one of them can count to 10. Simple plans never go right. You spend the night before the job sitting under stars with Remy. She demands, so why'd you really come back here? You lie again. I was bored. She laughs, but there is no humor in it. When this is all over, one of us is gonna die. Probably both. She nods. Just don't ask me to do it too soon. Dawn comes dressed like war. You come rolling into Devil's Backbone, on borrowed luck and loaded guns. The convoy rolls in like a clap of thunder. Soldiers lined in body armor, wagons locked at the seams, sentries in every shadow. But your crew is ready. Fireworks, satisfied that the table has been properly set. The dynamite sermons begin in earnest with Preacher Jack. Twin Tom drops their guards before they can blink an eye. Mabel moves past bullets, ghostly as a veil. You and Remy strike main wagon hard. Horses scream. Smoke blinds. Shots tear the morning apart. And then you see it. The thing in the back wagon. Not gold. Not weapons. A cage just inside the door, manacled and with brands upon his face, silent, with a light shining in his eyes, not of this world. He looks at you and smiles. That's when you realize this wasn't a heist. This was a delivery, and now you've set it free. The man in the cage says nothing, not with his mouth anyway. His eyes do enough. You peer into them and start to warm up. Not desert heat, but fire that remembers creation. Fire that is mad it was ever in a cage. Remy freezes. That's not a guy, she whispers. No, it's not. You know now. You've listened to those bounties of yesteryear. The inside bounties. The tiny black sealed bounties the government tries to bury beneath the sediment of its paperwork and its fears. They weren't guarding gold. They were ferrying the Sashta Brandwalker, a cursed immortal, deployed in secret wars, then imprisoned when even his masters couldn't contain him. And now he's standing. The chains melt. One of the soldiers screams. The Brandwalker raises his hand, not to hit, but merely to be, and the man explodes in a rush of flame, the way a matchbook would light up after being soaked in whiskey. You and Remy scramble behind the wagon for cover. Gunfire erupts all around. Preacher Jack screams scripture and hurls dynamite, because that's all he knows. Mabel unloads both pistols into the thing's back. Useless. Twin Tom runs. Smart man. Brandwalker turns slowly, face calm, skin that is covered in blazing sigils, some flaring off as he channels power. The air bends around him. Time feels slower. You spend every clip like it could be your last, like you actually think bullets count for something. Then he speaks. One word, balance. The desert cracks. Sand lifts like a wave. You are tossed 20 feet, collide with a rock, blackout for a second, or an hour, who can tell? When you open your eyes, the van is nowhere to be seen. So is the canyon wall. It's just dust, fire, and the feeling that everything safe in the world just stood up and left the room. You discover Remy under a broken wagon axle, blood seeping from a leg. She looks at you, coughing. That went well. You laugh. It hurts. Probably a cracked rib. You help her up. The ground still shudders around you. What now? She asks. You're looking at the horizon, and I either scream the Brandwalker, or I play it very, very cool. And there the Brandwalker walks all slow and casual, heading west overview more towns, who have no idea what's about a hit. We follow, you say. Why? Because I let him out. I'm ending it. She nods. No more jokes. Just war. You regroup in a nearby cave. Mabel arrives hobbling, but still alive. Jack, gone. Maybe raptured. Maybe exploded. Either way, it's hardly a surprise. You cross your fingers. The Brandwalker will leave you alone and patch flesh, yours and others, all night and almost get killed. Stories that you recall. Old stories about spirits who single out people they believe are guilty. He doesn't kill at random. He judges. But that's the catch. Out there in the West, everyone's at fault. It's getting to be morning, but the sky has gone all weird. Birds flying in reverse. Clouds that look like symbols you couldn't translate. You ride him hard, following him by a trail of molten prints and scorched silence. You arrive in the first town just as it's about to fall. Horses screaming, buildings consumed by fire from within. The mayor down on his knees, begging forgiveness for something he won't talk about. The brandwalker doesn't respond. He sears something into the man's chest, a word you can't make out, and the mayor vanishes. Not killed, not turned to ash, just gone, like he was an error being deleted. You bust in with your revolvers out. You dump one into the walker's chest. He doesn't flinch. You reload. Keep firing. Eventually, he looks at you and smiles. You have so many names, he says. It's almost impressive. You don't answer. Just spit blood and keep firing. Remy pulls him away from the side by throwing him a knife. Not a kill shot, but to get his eyes on him. It works. Mabel sets off dynamite, hurls it from behind. It's lodging wheel and you snatch it from midair, yell like a madman, and stick it in his side. Boom, smoke, fire, screams. Yours, mostly. You open your eyes and find yourself beneath wood and regret. The brandwalker is dead, for now. But he left something behind. A mark on your neck, branded in your skin, burned into your skin. A message. You look at Remy. She nods. We're marked now, she says. No, you growl. We're chosen. And perhaps that was not a mistake. Maybe you weren't supposed to kill him. Perhaps you were supposed to complete what he began. You ride without sleep, through bleeding heat deserts, through ghost towns where windows gape and nothing stirs. Every town you pass through is quieter than the one before. Not empty, just hollow. Fear came through and found the sound it took. It is not hard now to follow the brandwalker's trail. The earth remembers where he has walked. Cattle won't graze. Birds fly in his wake as if they don't want any part of whatever stories getting written. You, Remy, and Mabel follow behind him, not in order to arrest him. That ship sailed. You're just trying to get there first, before he's done. The marks around your neck sear a little more severely your further you get. Not pain, weight, as if fate were clawing at your spine. You're not sure whether it's punishment or an invitation. Remy finally vocalizes what you have both been thinking. He's not killing everyone. She's right. Some folks vanish. Some kneel. Some are branded and change. Not just scared, transformed. They start following him, whispering, preaching. A movement, not a massacre. He's not a demon. He's a reset button. The government knows it too, which is why you see them today. Riders in black, flags without a country, rifles that bear the glint of church guilt. Cleaners, they are not here to save towns. They've come to bury evidence. They want the walker gone, and they wish you'd die for letting him out. You tear through a government ambush in a canyon they call Widow's Smile. They start shooting and never ask questions. You reply with lead and anger. Mabel has 3 taken with 1 shot. Remy throws a middle finger at a crate of dynamite and laughs like she's shaking hands with God. You get hit in the side. Doesn't matter. You've been bleeding since. Part why I wanted to study that big mural. And after the dust clears, one of the officers has a letter on him. It's for any survivor, and it's signed with a name you haven't heard spoken in years. Your name, not a message, a warrant. You are not, after all, a bounty hunter. You're the bounty. You burn the letter. Eat jerky. Keep riding. You meet the walker at a mountain pass known as Hollow Ridge. It's where the West ends. Behind it, civilization, trains, telegraphs, suits. He's right on the edge of the ridge, arms out, and the wind is howling like it knows what's about to happen. A sea with him, a crowd, the changed ones, silent, eyes glowing faint, not possessed, just ready. You dismount, walk alone. Remy stays back. Mabel mutters something about looking after the horses herself. You know she's lying. She simply doesn't want to watch what may occur. The walker turns. You came, he says. I started this. You were chosen. I was angry. Same thing. You step closer. Why me? Because you lost everything. And you stood up. That's what I needed. You pull your revolver. I'm not your weapon. No, he says, drifting closer. You are my ending. He grabs your wrist. The brand on your neck glows, burns and fades. Memories derail you like a runaway train. Not yours, his. Centuries of war, fire, betrayal. He was a man once, a warrior, turned tool, hired out to kings and causes and killers until he forgot his name. Shut up, because he started asking why. You see it all. Then he lets go and falls to his knees. You can stop me, he says. You raise your gun, but you don't shoot. You sit next to him. Balance, you whisper. He nods. You both watch across the ridge. Remy and Mabel are waiting for you behind you. Guns lowered, eyes confused. Now what? Remy finally shouts. With trembling fingers, you strike a match and light a cigar. And now, we determine who the fire belongs to. The walker stands, starts to walk down the other side of the ridge, not to destroy, to judge. And you? You follow. Not his servant, not his killer, only the lone soul who knows. The West never needed law. It needed memory, and someone to carry it. You ride off, not into the sunset, but into the reckoning. And back there, the old world starts to burn.